Welcome to the Late Load. Late Night Load.
Hey everybody, Web C here, and welcome to the show. And we got Leading 42 playing on the big screen, and then I'll be playing on the mobile apps.
That doesn't show up.
No. So, in light of everything, welcome to the show, everybody. We're just hanging out, talking smack. One of the things that happened today is Oprah came out and doubled down on her BS about she was just trying to do a good thing for the people of Maui. I don't know about that. I'm not sure. But I know she came out and she talked to the news and she told them, oh, well, quote, I was just trying to help. And I didn't know by me asking other people to help, it was a bad thing. I was pretty amazed. And then she had like a creepy meeting with the vice president. That was super cringe. And it was not even on Oprah's part. Like, it was the vice president that was cringy. I watched a little bit of that. I got 20 seconds in and I was like, oh. Anyways, that was my day of learning about things. People are not happy with Oprah. I told y'all, like, the past couple podcasts, like, research where you're going to be donating to. Make sure you pay attention to who you're sending that money to to make sure it really gets to the people of Hawaii. Don't just go, to the fund Oprah was pushing. I mean, unless you trust Oprah, that's a whole nother ballpark right there, I guess. Right? She good with her money. She should be good with your money. Oh, got jokes. Not really. Anyways, that that was new. This update that just came out for this game is so pretty. So those of you off in video game land and everything, we're playing No Man's Sky. I should probably pull that up in a new page and post that in there. Huh? Hold on. There we go. I'm gonna get you some viewers, babe.
High sentinel activity. Terraforming catastrophe.
Now we should get some viewers.
Cactus flesh.
We only got 4 viewers, 4 live viewers last week. So this week we're actually marketing to to what we're playing on Twitch. So we'll get some viewers from that. And we have four Twitch followers. So that's pretty good. Since we've barely been doing any gaming on Twitch. It's pretty good to get 4 followers. Oh, I burped. All right, here we go. Hello? Okay, good. You can hear me. That's all that matters. So yeah, we're gonna get back to this mobile app. While we watch Leany 42. Oh hey, you know what I should do? We've been on for about 10 minutes. Head on over here and we'll talk to you guys about our sponsors over at ClarksvilleHobbyDepot.com. Check them out and go use that score G underscore syndicate 10 to get 10% off, $25 or more on your purchase. Now, if you are wondering what Clarksville Hobby Depot has for you and what they have to offer, they have a plethora of things to offer, from hobby tools to different hobby sets. All sorts of things, from trains to RCs to planes. They even have Mechem robot models. So head on over to our sponsor, Clarksville Hobby Depot, and check out that super huge inventory they have. Along with that, most of their diorama supplies they have do happen to match with 1/100 and 1/144 scale gunpla. So if you guys are into that, need a supplier for that, here's a code to get you some points off on those. So head on over there to Clarksville Hobby Depot and hey, sign up. Let them know that we sent you. All right, and that's our spick. Back to the game. Oh yeah, I got the labels off right now, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know if anybody else is going to join us on tonight's show. I suppose I could um, go cognito mode really quickly and check on them.
Interesting.
All right. Oh no! Don't do that, Mr. Snake. Well, let the whole team know we are live.
Sweet.
Woo-hoo.
That was 30 words.
That's quite a bit. 30 words is a good accomplishment.
And I've met 30 aliens.
That makes sense too. Now, you can increase your words without meeting aliens.
Yes. Boy,
When you're on a planet, there's like these little things that stick out of the ground that are cylinder shaped. If you run up to one of them, it'll teach you a syllable or a word of whatever species inhabited that planet.
uh,
Have you not encountered that? Okay. I'm just letting you know they're there. They're on like a grid pattern kind of thing, or they used to be. Yo, all right. So back to all this crazy stuff about like Maui and stuff. Yo, did you know that Oprah's house in Maui is painted blue?
Huh. That's weird.
It's just a special kind of blue. She hired contractors to paint her house a special kind of blue. And I've seen satellite images of her home in Maui painted blue. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't go look for the images. Somebody else made a video and showed me the images. They like zoomed in on Google Maps and shit. I was like, what? Google Maps is snitching on Oprah. It made me kind of happy. But hey, I just like my biggest question is if all these people who are like buying up all this property in Hawaii and stuff, they're all the same people that are pushing this whole like global warming agenda and stuff. Why are they buying land in like the hottest part of the planet? That's just a question. I mean, unless they're lizard people and they like it hot, like lizards. But I mean, not everybody's Madonna.
Spaceship.
Spaceship?
I
You,
just feel like exploring one of those things.
you know you can buy those other spaceships and stuff too.
I do not have enough units for that shit right
Oh,
now.
okay.
Minute or detonation. That sounds fun. Let's go explore that. Whoa. Where did I just go to?
You went to a really cool looking planet. Princess, go relax.
Well, that's hot. Look at my environment warning.
Well, damn.
Let's go fry.
I should check the chat box. Check the chat box. Hey, everybody. Yeah. There to go. His name's Perry. Platypus. Oh no.
check that out.
I see. You got rings.
This isn't even the planet with the rings.
No.
I'm on a planet that's in core destruction imminent.
I wouldn't stay there too long, man.
I wasn't planning on it.
There's a couple things.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. You hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. I've just
All right.
been fighting to get your attention. I've been trying to shut everything off so that you would see me.
What the fuck? Wrong screen. There we go. How's it going?
It's gone.
So Eileen is playing No Man's Sky. I am playing. Um, I'm playing a beta on my phone of this racing game. And yeah, we're just talking trash about Oprah.
Oh, I love Oprah. She owns Hawaii.
Yep. I was just like, I saw a video today talking about how like magically she painted her biggest building right before the fires and stuff.
Blue.
The roofs are blue.
When like I saw statements saying that her and multiple other um, celebrities were doing the same thing.
Okay. Kind of crazy.
And not just like a similar blue, like the exact same shade of blue.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like it's always like I was just like, well, that's kind of suspect. And, but she like I also said earlier, she doubled down after this backlash about that whole like fundraising thing she tried to do. Like she doubled down and tried to call everybody who was mad at her bad people. Like I was like, well,
Well,
damn.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's. I mean, that's what you do when you're trying to push an opinion, right? Is
yeah,
you state yours and then tell everybody else that they're bad for not agreeing.
right.
I mean,
And then
that's the
also
name of the game.
the other thing that's weird that happened there was they're starting to put up like blackout fence to where you can't see into where the fires happened.
Well, and let's. I mean, so I mean, I don't know how much you looked into it, but I had sent you one kind of video and stuff talking about the Ukraine situation and how we had accidentally overpaid them around $5 billion on what we said we were going to help them with. And then there was another statement saying that we overestimated on what we needed to send them to help, and we had around $5 billion still lingering that had nowhere to go or do anything with. And then the balance of that is to rebuild all of the homes in Hawaii that did get fucked up. It would only cost about $4 billion. And so why is that $5 billion that's lingering and have no home not being getting put to that?
Because Hawaii's in political lingo.
Nah, that's
Fucking
that's the media excuse. But at the end of the
yeah,
day, if you really want to help somebody, you just do. So I mean, yeah,
yeah,
that's the bullshit that we get
yeah,
fed, that we get to listen to on
yeah. We get
Fox
fed the
9.
political lingo is why we
That's the
can't help
Fox
them.
9 bullshit.
Yeah,
But
well, it's not just
at the
Fox
end of
Nine.
the
I mean,
no,
that's
no, no, it is because at the end of the day, what the media says doesn't fucking matter. The government gets to decide what they want to do. If the government really wanted to help them, they're gonna just do it. It doesn't matter the political bullshit. You either it's okay, okay. If your car breaks down and you need to get to a doctor appointment, I help you or I don't. It doesn't matter if your car broke down because you weren't maintaining your car. That doesn't matter to me. If I want to help you, I'm going to help you.
yeah,
The purpose of why I'm helping you, whether it's you not doing something for yourself or not, doesn't matter. The purpose is am I willing to help you or not? And that's where I say the whole limbo bullshit is bullshit, because you can say, that can be said whatever. At the end of the day, if you're supposed to do the right thing, you
yeah,
decide if you're going to or not.
right.
And
Well, it's
we've decided that we're not going to do the right thing. Is how I
yeah.
look at it. We're
Well,
not
what I
going
was
to.
saying is it's not really a Fox News thing. This is old politics from like
Well, I
60
was using that.
years ago. This has nothing.
I was
This
using
isn't even
Fox
our
News as
generation's
I was using,
politics.
no.
Is what
I
I'm
was
saying.
using Fox News
Yeah,
as an example.
yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
I wasn't saying
Oh
that as
yeah,
it's written in stone. I was
yeah.
using as an example
Yeah,
that
I
had
was just
nothing
trying
to
to
do
like
with.
clear it up. Like this isn't even our generation's politics. This is old shit that should have been handled by the last generation. We shouldn't even be hearing about why Hawaii is not a proper state of our country. They
No,
should just be accepted as a proper state. I'm on your side with this whole thing. Is like we should just be helping them. I agree, especially because we're going to help a country. Okay, so like when we jump down the whole rabbit hole of what's going on in Ukraine, that leads us all the way back to like 2012 with Obama and some shit. Okay, so that's a whole fucking spool of shit I don't even want to get into because that becomes more political than I really want to talk about with Ukraine. Uh, but just to put it to that way, it goes all the way back there with Russia involved as well. Like Russia was involved back then in 2012. Some shit happened. Obama and Biden were in charge back then of America, but they were making some weird sneaky business deals in Ukraine, right? Well, Russia gets wind of it. Russia wants to go in and find out what's going on. America's like, "Don't you dare!" And Russia's like, "Oh, well, it's not a NATO state or whatever, so we don't care. We're gonna do whatever we want." So Russia takes over two sections of eastern Ukraine. This all happens back then. update to like 2019, 2012. Oh, the two people who were just siphoning millions of dollars out of that country just became president and the kid of the president. Okay, what do? They cut off all ties with Ukraine and they let Russia take over. They like, go ahead, invade, you know. So that's as far out of the political spectrum as I can highlight that. So then when we look at it now with why we're sending money, I think half the reason why we're sending that money is so that Ukraine doesn't expose all the corruption of our government. Okay. We're buying somebody off in Ukraine, is what we're doing. We're one, doing that, and two, there's money laundering going on, and half of that money is coming back to America and being put into Democrat political coffers. All of the political coffers are being filled right now with money from Ukraine oligarchs who are. Why do they have the money in the first place? Oh, because Americans sent it to them.
Okay. But
So,
all right, so this is where I'm going to put a completely different twist on everything that you just said, because I love playing devil's advocate.
mm-hmm.
If that's the rabbit hole we're going to jump down,
Yeah.
then it's for me, it's as simple as, and I mean, I'm going to say this up front before I make my point for people to understand where I'm coming from. None, Russia, Ukraine, America, none of the governments mean ditto. So if we're gonna play the like point finger game, it comes down to the higher elites above the government that pull the strings of the government that are making all of these, you know, they're the ones that are making it play out the way it looks. It has nothing to do with Russia, Ukraine, or America.
Oh,
It
sure.
has 100% more to do with the the trillionaire investors that control 88 or so percent of the important stocks,
Uh-huh.
that can remove a government official, a CEO, a board of
Yeah.
directors,
Yeah.
all of that. Those are the ones that are pulling all the strings that you're talking about right now. It
Oh, yeah.
has nothing to do
Oh, yeah.
with the government labels. So to me,
Oh, yeah, no.
it's hard to point those fingers there and say Obama, you know, and none of that matters, because at the end of the day, those are just public officials that are making it look like they're doing things, but those guys aren't doing anything to me. The aboves are, and they're just the
Well,
ones that get to take the hit. Like,
well,
I mean,
right, right.
I mean,
They're
that's no different to me. That's no different than news stations that are giving opinions, and they are given the opinions that they're told to say from above them. So
yeah.
that's where I would kind of nip what you just said in the
Well,
butt,
yeah.
personally.
Those same news stations that are sold those same opinions are the same news stations that are owned by the same people that own the pocketbooks of all these politicians I'm talking about. Okay, so
Yeah,
these
but
politicians, I'm not saying that they're not owned or anything. I'm not, and I'm not putting names behind any of that. I was just pointing out who these politicians are making these specific moves and why
well, no,
we're
I mean,
involved at all.
you were categorizing the government, and that's why I just wanted to say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you can't do that, because there's
Well, no.
there's
This
nobody,
was.
there's nobodies, like literally, there's nobodies above
Mhm.
them that get to play
Oh
the
no, I
puppeteer.
agree with that
So
too.
so
There's
so
the puppeteers, but
America, Ukraine, Russia, when it gets into that
right.
state, none of those three words mean this much. None of them even mean this much, because none of them do. None of them have. All three of those governments have this much power, like that much right there. That's how much power they have, because you and me both know just as well as anybody else that has a half a brain knows that it's the elevated, the investors, you know,
Well, if any,
monopolizers. You know, it's the big business investors that have monopolized on the world, but for some reason we can't sue them for monopolization that get to pull all the strings of what really happens. And that's
Yeah.
where me and you get to talk about, we're checker players on a chessboard. Because that's,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the government officials. The government
Well, yeah.
officials may look like they have a lot of power, but they are still just checker players where somebody else is playing chess with them.
Mhm.
They're the chessboard's pawns where they're just checker players looking like they have an important opinion upon what's going on in the world. And they don't. And
No.
we all know that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, like I said, these are where the pieces were falling in place. Okay, those were the pieces that I didn't go into specifics on who said what and who did what. But
Yep.
like I said, what I was just saying is I was giving you the time period and like who was doing what kind of where. Because that's kind of what I don't have. Um, or what was it's more saying it's easy to look up and find that this person was where I say they were when they were. It's super easy to look this information up. It's all public record. This person
Okay.
traveling about. So that's fine.
Yep.
What I'm just saying is some shit popped off, and apparently now Ukraine is like the new Middle East. Okay, that's all it is. Okay, this is what it basically boils down to. It's the new Middle East. It's that new war distraction, that whole new thing. But what was weird is I don't see why that had to happen. It didn't make sense to me at all. None of it was making sense at all. Like
Um,
that's why I
I
was
mean,
like, this just doesn't
I
make
mean,
sense.
I think that I'm just oblivious as you. I don't know any more than you, but that's the goal, right? That's the point. The point is to have a distraction that
Mm-hmm.
even somebody that's in tune to doesn't understand, right?
Well,
I mean
right, because
that
I mean, it's
that's the game. Because if it was easy to break down and understand, it wouldn't be a distraction.
yeah. Well, the
Uh,
biggest
uh, uh,
yeah, I guess the
right? I
biggest
mean,
part of for me is
that's it. That's the goal.
yeah.
That's how they play. They've been playing chess for centuries. We've been playing checkers for years.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the ugly reality that we get to you know get our fingers in. That's why we do this show is to talk about that type of. I don't even know how to word it. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
it's
yeah,
so ugly. I mean
I,
that's
I I get what you're saying, and so along with all that, like yeah, you're right. No, like, America even like knowledge wise is probably the lesser of the countries around the world. Like
oh
America
for
is
sure.
a
We
very
we
short knowledge country.
one we do a good job at lying to ourselves to play the
Mhm.
game.
Yeah. Oh, of course. So that's that's just the common the common makeup of all of that. So with that, um, so when I dug into the whole Russia Ukraine thing, and I'm looking at the two sides of this whole, excluding America, outside of our influence, outside of NATO's influence. When I just look at just the fight in general, here's the issue that I have with this war. One side is a bunch of communists. The other side is a bunch of Nazis. I really don't like either ideal. Like politically, I don't like their ideals on either side. So why should I care at all about this war? Why is my taxpayer dollar going to go to that war where I don't care about either of those political ideals or want either one of those sides to really even win in that matter because of their extreme ideals?
I
So
mean,
that's hard for me, on that aspect of what I think about when I
so
look at it.
again, not that I have an opinion, negative or positive, about what you just said, but
Mhm.
to play devil's advocate is, what I would say is
Yeah.
that what I would say is that I know, because I know you personally, you've never been to Ukraine
No,
and you've never been to Russia.
no,
So that means that the statement that you just made is based off an opinion of what you've been presented. Is that false?
no.
That
Um,
so what my where my playing devil's advocate, I'm not saying that I disagree with what you're saying. I'm just trying to, create conflict of interest of what you're saying.
mhm.
Is how can how can you decide what those two parties are if you've never personally experienced the lifestyle or living situation of those two parties outside of an outside influence of
Yeah.
somebody telling you what those two parties are. I mean, that's no different than us sitting in the schoolyard and playing phone tag, and
Hmm.
I might know the truth, but I can send that truth to you through five people, and by the end of it, the truth that you get is the truth that the other people that decide what they want it to be, not what the truth is. And
Okay.
so that's where I would have fun. I don't
Yeah.
disagree with your statement.
No,
I'm
okay.
simply saying I'm pointing out how easy it would be to manipulate you into thinking what you just thought,
Oh
and
no,
and
totally,
and
totally. I
that
get
and
you.
that
Yeah.
it's a very, you know no disrespect, but I
Yeah.
feel like it's a false idea, because I will be straight honest. I would love to get the hell out of my country and see what the rest of the world looks like. I haven't, outside of Canada, and it
Okay.
was a very
I haven't been out.
small sliver of Canada that I got to see by Niagara
Okay.
Falls.
Yep.
So it's where I played this angle is I'm aware that we're lied to and manipulated
Hmm.
by this ignorance, and I would like to
Yep.
see more of the world, so that way
Yeah.
I can have a better understanding of what I'm told versus what is reality.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So where I got my information about Russia is their president himself. He likes to make videos and talk shit. Right. He's like another Trump type. Vladimir Putin. So um, back in March, he released a statement to his press. Uh, his words in English said, "I want to restore the Soviet Union's former glory along with its communist traits." So therefore, that puts Russia in line with their leader says they're going towards communism. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
I
All right.
I personally have seen and know thousands of immigrants from Cuba. I work in the restaurant industry. I know thousands of people who have come from Cuba because communism didn't do too well there. So if they're doing it in Russia as well, I don't really agree with it. Because I've seen the effects of people leaving their home to come thousands of miles away to just live and survive, right?
Yeah.
Um, then in Ukraine, there's refugees there too, from that situation. Where I come from with the whole Ukraine thing is the battle battalions who are successful against the Russian military right now. Those guys they're carrying badges and symbols that Germany was wearing in World War II. That's all I'm saying, man. I'm just
Okay.
observant of the symbols.
So so
So
so and again, not opinionated. I'm not
right,
saying I
right.
disagree with what you're saying, but for conflict of conversation,
Oh yeah.
um, Vladimir Putin, anything that I've seen or saw about him is very ugly,
Oh yeah.
very disliked by
Hmm.
my opinion of what I've been told, 100%.
Yeah.
But this is where I'll play devil's advocate. If you were a European, or you were from India or Sweden or whatever, would you personally, you as an American, would you like the whole world to decide or assume your beliefs based on how Trump ran the government
Ooh.
or how he ran America?
Well, see,
Because
that's
because
I get where you're
let
coming
me
from.
finish.
I get where you're coming from. Here's my argument. Here's my argument.
I think it's very easy to do that.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah,
easy to see a leader.
it totally
It's
is.
very easy to see the leader of North Korea and be like, well, that's a good piece of shit. But
Yeah.
does that mean that everybody within that country is a piece of shit?
No, and that's the whole thing. Is well, right now I can kind of say yeah in a sense because they're just letting this fucking dickhead just get away with what he's ordering people to do. You know,
But how much power do you think that you had with the fucking raid of the White House?
dude, anybody 10 feet from him with a gun should just pull the fucking trigger. You
How
know,
much power? That didn't answer my question. How
yeah,
much power did you have to prevent the raid of the White House?
none. I wasn't
None.
nowhere. I was
None.
nowhere near that.
None.
That wasn't even
Nowhere
on
near
my
that. Not at
subject.
all. That's
Yeah.
my point. But how do you think the world and other countries grade and see us when stuff like that happens? That's my point. That's my
Well,
point. And I'm not wrong. That's my point.
No. I'm not
That's my
saying you're
point.
wrong at all, and I agree
That's
with
my
you.
point.
My point on that is I look at it this way. I don't when I talk about another country, I'm not talking about its people or its culture.
I
I'm
know.
usually
You're
talking
talking
about
about the
its
leaders.
government system.
Yep.
And that's where I want like for me to differentiate is you're right. I should clarify that I'm talking about their government, not the people or the culture, because no, not everybody within that little border, those lines that we draw up imaginarily, not everybody believes what their leader believes. You're 100% correct, and I'm not going to argue that. But yes, I should clarify when I speak and say that I am only talking about their governments and not their people, because I'm pretty sure there's millions and millions and millions of great people from that area of the world. I've met good Russian people that have immigrated here to America, just like I've met, like I was saying, I've had a bunch of Cuban friends. When I was a carpenter, a bunch of Russians had immigrated to America in the early 2000s and became carpenters and contractors and stuff. And so I worked with a bunch of those guys and stuff when I was a floor sander. That was interesting for me. I was like a different kind of exposure too. It's like, oh wow,
But see, and now again, though, so that's where then we'll break past this, conversation, and we'll go back to the 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 elites, because I mean, me and you can 100%, and I know this. I don't even have to ask you this. We can 100% agree that the elites are above all of the strongest of governments in the world.
Well, yeah.
They are they are selective business titles that hold shareholders in the strongest of
There's only two
businesses
companies.
that affect. Well, there's three of them actually.
Well, I
I can pull it up.
suppose.
I can pull it up if you want. There's three. There's three strongly invested business names that hold 88% of the shares of any of the important
Uh-huh.
stocks.
Oh yeah, it breaks all the way down
And each
to.
of those individuals' businesses, I'm not going to say the names because it's just a bunch of heat we don't need, but they are each one of them are close to $10 trillion companies that hold stocks and shares within the companies that make the world go circular. And side note, shout out to Caden. I rock this shit next to my fucking table every day of the week.
Oh snap!
Nite,
That's awesome. She,
yes.
I heard she showed up. I heard she showed up to your house the last time, and she was just like, "You get a picture. You get a picture. You
Oh,
get a
there were
picture."
so many. I love it, dude. My Autumn and Hayden have theirs that they got from her above their beds. They love that their cousin just dropped these random pictures off to them when
That's
she came by.
awesome.
It's great. But no, I mean, it's it's a sad, scary, and ugly game that the world has played around us, and me and you, we're not even pawns. We're the board that the pawns are placed upon, and
Yeah,
that's the saddest and scariest part about it because me and you both know the world is built upon potential, but the people that do have the power to change things will never.
oh,
And
probably
it's I
not.
mean it's it's sad. It's sad to me, to know that we live in a world of phenomenal opportunities, but are controlled by demons.
Agreed.
Now let's switch subjects and let's talk about Mexico
Yeah,
because
let's talk about Mexico.
I
Okay, I'm
have
the
looked at
subject of
it
that.
and it is it's cool. It's it's you know suspect. It's all of the fun subjects that we like.
Yeah. So let's talk about let's break this down in a couple segments. The first one is why do you think Mexico went ahead and did what they did? Um,
Why now? They found it. The statement. Correct me if I'm wrong. The statement is that these um, mummified humanoids were found in 2017, and the UFO UFOologist is how they labeled them are just now like authenticizing it today. So I'm going to assume that in the last 6 years, that means that they've kind of poked some needles into it,
yep.
verified that it's not anything that we've ever seen before. And
Yep.
this is totally off the wall. I'm going to go off the wall 110% from what anybody else is talking about because it's just a trigger of a thought that I had based on a segment that we were doing months ago or that you were doing months ago, and it made me think about the very small uh cave people that were being covered in Helliard, right? Helliard.
Yeah.
And it kind of for me not that was like it for me, but that was like just that was an easy answer for me, like
Mhm.
if these mummified beings are only 1,000 years old. Well, that's not that old. I mean,
No.
1,000 years ago from now, we were just starting to use automobiles instead of horses. 1,000 years ago from now, so that's not that long ago. So
We were in
what?
horse-drawn carriage still.
In 1923, there were no
That's
automobiles.
100 years ago.
100. You're right. My bad. You're right. My
In
bad.
900, in
900
900, we
years
were
ago.
maybe
But
just doing
nonetheless,
small steam
nonetheless,
engines.
nonetheless, my point is that's not a lot when it comes to the history of the world.
Oh no, not to our history. Our
And
history is not that old.
so it kind of made me think of that. Like, are these tiny little, weird magical cave people that we are talking about in, Helliard, or is this straight up some aliens that
Okay.
crashed, or is this a fucking hoax and it's just another distraction from what's really going on in reality?
Okay. So let's break down the information that I've been collecting on these since 2017 when I first saw them being dug up out of the caves. So I've been tracking this story for a while. So when they pulled them out and they opened up the boxes, I was like, oh, they're showing those to the government. I was like, okay, I already knew what they were talking about. So These two remains, corpses, were found near the Nazca lines. There's an airport, an old ancient airport built on the Nazca lines, um, up above them, right? So that's where that is now. These bodies were preserved in a certain way, a very specific way. It's called ditremedious earth, or DTE. Today we use it to treat flea and bug pest infestations in our homes. But what they learned is that it like they basically turned these little aliens into beef jerky. So what they were able to do was they were able to take these little beef jerkied aliens and rehydrate pieces of them, and they were able to analyze these rehydrated pieces and discover that they didn't have human DNA. Then the problem was what took so long for them to get all this together was the DNA doctors, all the dudes that do oncology or whatever, they were really fighting against this. They did not want to be involved or have their names anywhere near this at all. They were like, no, you can't talk about this. You can't, nothing. We don't want to be involved. We will not back up your findings, what you tell the public. We don't want to be involved after this. We're showing you this is strange, and we're not talking with it because they don't want to lose credit. Scientists don't like losing credit. That's a big thing in the scientific world because that's what you're based
That's their
on.
flaw. That's their
Yeah,
flaw, though.
yeah.
That's the flaw of it.
So they they've had this big battle. It's been an uphill battle. Finally, they found a DNA company that would vouch for the findings, that would stand behind the findings and do everything, vouch for them. They that company did the testing. It took 2 years for the testing to come back, updated to now. Now, America has been doing a soft release of UFO information for the past 2 months. And then back in 2019, 2020, they did the first video release or whatever. Like, yeah, this is a UFO. We don't know where it is, where it's from, how it came here, where it went. We don't know nothing about it. But here's a video of it. Here you go. It's real. No more fake lights in the sky or anything. It was a real military footage video. Um, so we upgrade to here today. Mexico, I believe, they're tired of how slow America is taking things, and they just want to get things out in the open.
I,
Another country that's on board with Mexico is Brazil. Brazil is having a lot of activity in their sky. It's crazy. Some of the stuff I get video feed from Brazil on different things like TikTok and stuff, and they'll be like, "Yo, this just happened in Brazil," and they'll show like UFOs and shit up in the sky and stuff, and they'll be like, "What the fuck is this?" So I wait to see if more people show like different angles of that video to see if more people saw it or stuff. Sometimes you get a lot of videos that flood in on that day, and then sometimes it's a hoax and you won't get any videos flooding in. That's how
so
you.
what gets me about this is what was it just a few months ago that the American government like kind of opened up their some of their files and saying like UFOs are out here, like aliens are out here, they exist, right? And
Mhm.
everybody just blew it by and didn't even. I mean, we were so involved in everything else, so we so already knew it that there was no stir in the public, right, of them making that statement. And
No,
then now, here a few months later, Mexico makes this statement and shows findings. To me, that's not random.
no, no. It's definitely not random, but it's Mexico running out of patience, and it's a lot of other South American countries running out of patience. And like I said, Brazil's got a lot of activity. Another country that's got a lot of activity, I heard, is Venezuela. They've got a lot of sky activity as well, which they're between Mexico and Brazil. Uh, so I'm just thinking right now that's the big hot spot of where the aliens are messing around right now, and Southwest America is starting to light up again. People are starting to see stuff in Arizona, New Mexico, just stuff. It's not even UFOs anymore. They're like saying people are seeing like portals and stuff pop up and shit now. Beams of light from the sky and weird stuff. And people are recording it. Some people are sharing it. Some people aren't. And it's pretty profound. Uh, I'm not too skeptical of Mexico's release of this information. So um, the guy who was talking when they revealed these two things to the public, he's in America. We labeled him as a crackpot when he came to America and he tried talking about aliens and UFOs in America and stuff. They labeled him a crackpot and gave him a sideshow apparatus, and they put him on unsolved mysteries and shit like that. You know, they were like really trying to push him away from the public as much as possible. But down in Mexico, he's a he's a big thing. He's a big deal down in Mexico when it comes to UFOs, UAPs, anything about the supernatural. I believe he even handled the videotapes of the chupacabra in Mexico that they kept finding, or getting videotapes, like sheriffs and stuff driving their truck down a road, and they would see like a chupacabra or whatever on their dash cam. Yeah, this is the dude that they would give those tapes to in Mexico, and he would show them to he'd show them to the public. You know, that was his job. Uh, kind of like our William Shatner. You know how William Shatner used to do that stuff. Uh, so it was interesting that they had that guy involved, because I noticed that right away. Like, oh hey, it's that dude. Um, but I just thought it was funny that they decided to, like, it wasn't like a press release at all. It was very much so he went in front of his political leaders in his country and showed them, like, hey, here's the proof. you know, here's our smoking gun. Now
We've
you
been
show us
smoking
what
on
you know.
potatoes for fucking 7 years. What's up?
Yep.
Stop.
So
Here they are.
yeah.
So then the next, to follow up on people's assumptions, then at that point, I mean, when you then collaborate these findings with the Book of Enoch or the Book of the Giants,
Mhm.
people who follow that reading and, are intrigued by it, their first jump is, are these mummified beings of the Watchers, the original keepers of the planet as we were becoming intelligent species to some small degree? I personally, I don't go that hard on it. I'm in a little bit of a disbelief to take it that far, but nonetheless, I mean, what do I know? I mean, I'm full of assumptions and opinions and told lies and disbeliefs. So I can do nothing but speculate.
Yeah. Uh, my my thought on it, looking at them, if I were, like I said, if I were to rehydrate them, because knowing that they were basically turned into little alien jerkies, um, I would imagine that they would plump out a little bit, and even their heads, they would plump out a little bit. So to think about that, I would think they're like, maybe they're those in those books you just brought up, like the Book of Enki and the Book of Enoch and stuff like that. They talk about how, or even further back in the Sumerian text, they talk about how, like, those ancient gods had a servant under them that wasn't human. And I think that those could be what that was. They could be that servant that wasn't human. Now, we refer to them now as the small grays or the short grays. But that's also what they look like, is little grays. They don't look like tall grays, they look like short little grays. So that's also, a theory. And then it kind of makes sense when we look into the x-rays and stuff that they have of these things. Their bone structure doesn't, like, their bone structure has like metals melded to them in certain spots and stuff, like as if they were like part machine.
Enhanced.
So when you're looking at they X-rayed them from the side and from the top, but when you look at them from the top, the metal stands out really shiny on them, and then you can see there's the silhouettes of their bones and everything behind it. And then when they flipped it and turned it the other way, you could still see the metal, like it wasn't an anomaly. Like there's metal parts like right here on the shoulders, and it goes across like this, and then there's two round, and then down a little bit lower there's another one that's smaller, and then on the legs there's
Oh,
that.
another thing that stood out to me when I saw the images of the mummified beings is I thought of a story, and I might mess this story up a little. I'm human. But there was a story of I want to say maybe South America. It could be wrong. It could be poor countries in Africa where there was a UFO crashing, and there were a couple of small beings described similar to those mummified ones, and one of the soldiers that had picked up and carried one of these injured beings, um, who he traveled, quite a ways holding this being, trying to get him somewhere, to help him. Actually ended up, they described the being as having kind of a slimy skin texture and abnormal. And when the soldier, the individual that was carrying this being, ended up getting a really bad infection, and none of the doctors or anybody could help him because they didn't understand it. And the reason they didn't understand it is because it had came from that outer slime layer of that being that he was carrying, and his body didn't know how to respond to this brand new, you know, element or whatever that was on the outside of this being's body that he was carrying, and it ended up messing him up, and they tried to treat him, and he eventually died from it. And it made me think a lot about that situation solely because of the size of this being when they talked about this situation, and to me the similarity in the size of that versus what we saw in the images that Mexico provided is the reason that story kind of stirred up in my head.
Damn it. Fucking work.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I when I go back and compare them, and then when I'm thinking about like where they found these bodies is so significant too. Like by those Nazca lines, those are clearly built for somebody above to look down and see. Like we've come to this conclusion, and I think everybody pretty much agrees. Like we, humans put that there for something above to look at, and for those aliens to have come and them to bury them there, that means I'm saying somewhere around there has got to be a spaceship of some sort, somewhere near there, or something, or maybe maybe that's what the original Ark of the Covenant is the spaceship that these smaller grays came to Earth on, and they packed it inside of this, thing, this big gold box to protect it. That could be what the actual Ark of the Covenant is. Because these dudes ain't that big, right? We're looking at these dudes, and remember, I could hold them; they would be like babies. They're small.
They look like one of your mottos.
Like in my hands, like yeah, yeah. A little bigger, maybe. I think.
Not much.
No, probably not. But so when I'm thinking about how big their spaceship would have to be for them to, operate their spaceship, we're not talking like this thing could, a
Be
5 foot
small.
by 5 foot circle.
This
Yeah,
is, this is this is smaller than your lawnmower.
Yep. And they said, whatever goes inside the Ark of the Covenant was, went right inside of it, and the Ark of the Covenant had to be carried by 4 people. So a small spacecraft that big could probably be carried by 4 people. Very interesting.
All
And then
right.
they open it up, and little alien shoots at the enemy, and then they close it and they carry it to the next place. Or I mean, I don't know what they really did. There's people think the Ark of the Covenant was a weapon. Some people think it was a weapon created by God. Some people think it just carries the original writings of the Ten Commandments in stone. Some people think it carries the Holy Grail, the cup
Secrets to the
that
universe.
Jesus. You know, so there's so many thoughts of what could actually be in the Ark, but. Because nobody's found it. They said they found it recently, but nobody pulled it out and showed anybody. So
I think
that's
if
it. That's
anybody,
an
I think if
interesting one.
anybody knows, it's the Vatican.
Uh, so I think we should look at the Ethiopian Vatican first. No, there's the Roman Catholic Vatican. I guarantee they got some information. But now down in Ethiopia, their church is older. Same religion, but their church is older, and that's where I think the actual ark is. I think it's down in Ethiopia somewhere. I don't think the Romans have it.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean it's
Um,
safe where it is.
for me it's late. I got an early start tomorrow.
Cool. Yeah,
Um,
it's yeah. Yeah. So,
always a pleasure though to sit here
yeah.
and collab with you, and
Oh yeah, definitely. Thanks for stopping by,
I'm glad I
dropping
could.
some knowledge, and yeah, I'm just gonna throw another shout out to our sponsors, and then we'll probably
Absolutely.
kick on out of here too. Hey, everybody, at the bottom of the screen, you will see ClarksvilleHobbyDepot.com, and you can use our discount code G_Syndicate10 to get 10% off a $25 or more purchase. Head on over to Clarksville Hobby Depot to fill any of your hobby needs, your RC cars. I believe they have model planes, model trains, and anything in between. If you need dioramas or anything else, head on over to Clarksville Hobby Depot. Get your needs
Yeah.
filled. All right. Thank you. But yeah, that's it for us. It's Thursday night. This has been a late night load. Let's get to it.
To the late night load.
Late night load.